gentlemen, it is me, Dr. Donna. Welcome to today's personal accountability. Today's topic, staying power. What's the first thought that enters into your mind when you hear staying power? The definition that I will be using today is this: the ability to maintain an activity or commitment despite fatigue or difficulty. The ability to maintain an activity or commitment despite fatigue or difficulty. How much staying power you got? And I'm not talking about that job that's driving you bonkers. I'm not talking about all of these toxic, manipulating relationships with your stuckmily and your stens. I'm saying for the things that you actually want to accomplish, the goals that you actually want to achieve. Yesterday, my daughter and I left the house at 7:40 a.m. We did not return until 8:10 p.m. We have 4 appointments, two of which were outside. So we were outside in the Las Vegas heat from 8:06 in the morning when we arrived at the first appointment until we went to our first air-conditioned appointment at 3:47 p.m. The other two appointments were in the air conditioning. However, it was cooling off. It ended up being like 104. By the time we made it home, do you have staying power? Do you have the ability, despite fatigue or difficulty, because those appointments were difficult? We had some manufacturing defects in the first appointment, have to go back on Thursday to take care of the rest. Do you have staying power? Can you, in spite of the heat, in spite of only having one meal during that time and water and electrolytes, do you have that? Is your brain wired for staying power? Do you have the staying power neural pathway, or do you need to start developing it? Do you need to? Because what she asked is, could one of her athletes, in particular football players, at what point would they have dropped off during the day? And I told her, I said, if it was a high school player, they might have made it almost through the first appointment. And then I said, if it's a college player, they would have made it through the second appointment, possibly. And then a pro player would have made it all the way through the third appointment, but they all would have tapped out by the fourth appointment because of lack of rest, because of lack of food, and because the work is difficult. All that standing and lifting and getting into small spaces and problem solving and all of that, I believe that that's what would have taken place simply because of the endurance and the fatigue and the difficulty of work. So I'm asking you, what's your staying power ability for what you do? And do you think you could have hung with us yesterday? Could you have made it through that day? Because we have days like that quite often, at a minimum several times a month. That staying power produces intestinal fortitude. It gives you the ability to persevere during times of adversity. It lets you know that failure is not an option, and you get to exercise other principles of real leadership. So really think about it today and sit down and answer the question: how much staying power do you have? Despite fatigue or difficulty, can you stay committed? Do you have the ability to stay and endure until you complete your goal?